So Ernesto Marinelli, let's look back at the 2016 season so far. Go right back to the very beginning to pre-season testing at the end of last year. The Panigale, it was a race winner finally last year for the first time. That was a fantastic achievement, of course, several race victories. Coming into 2016, there was going to be a new Kawasaki and several other new bikes. You guys were regarded as, certainly, if not favourites, one of the favourites. What was the expectation for you coming into the year?
Well, definitely, I mean, our target was and still is, to get back to the top of the championship. Of course, it's anything but easy to do so. I think this year, so far, we've been proving that we can fight for the podium every race weekend, one few. Of course, this is positive on one side because it means that the project is still evolving and still very competitive. And but on the other side, of course, our target has to be, to fight for the championship all the way to the last race.
Is it fair to say that Aragon this year was a real turning point? Because, of course, last year you had the double there, the first victory on the Panigale and then another one on the same day. This year, those new exhausts came in for Aragon, and it seemed to be a huge turning point. Is that how it felt inside the team as well?
Well, the exhaust was one of the development that we tried, that we used for the first time in Aragon. Was not only that, there was other steps that help as well. Since that it was definitely a turning point that did make a step forwards. After we've been introducing few bits, race after race, and then the performance has been improving. Of course, our contender are doing the same thing, so they're not sitting still. So development is something that never stop and always go forwards.
If we look at the riders then one by one, start with Chaz Davies, of course, championship runner-up last year, several race victories, multiple podium finishes, and it's been the same situation this year. It's interesting, last year the two bad rounds, if you like, were Thailand and Imola. That's what we seem to remember. This year Imola was fantastic, brilliant weekend, 1-2 on the grid, 2 doubles for Chaz from pole, 2 fastest laps. But he has lost points, hasn't he, in key moments. For example, Donington, Misano, and the crash at Phillip Island. At the time, though, Ernesto, I remember you saying to me the crash at Phillip Island actually gave everybody hope because it proved that Chaz was in this to fight for the title this year. So if we just go back to Phillip Island first of all, what was that weekend like for you? Because there was ups and downs, weren't there?
Well, it was, I would have to say, quite positive up to the race too. But of course, Chaz is a rider that is always giving 150%. He wants to win every weekend. So of course, when you get to the limit, sometime the risk to go slightly over is always there. But I think on the line is always very, very thin. Between becoming a hero on one race or doing a mistake. So we know that can happen in racing. Of course, we are hoping not to see many because, on a championship tight as this one is, 1-0 or, losing points for a crash, of course, is a bit then hard to be gained back. But all that said, of course, we are happy, to have such an hunger rider, for the victories because it's our spirit as well and it's what we want to achieve. So,
obviously, then we have to talk about Donington and Misano, and it was such a shame really because he was getting so tight in the championship, and then Chaz lost so many points to Jonathan Rea in particular. What went wrong over those rounds? Was it just a lack of luck that it seemed to all happen in that phase of just 2 weeks?
Well, sometimes it's, the weekend can go, good or wrong. And there is no particular reasons for it. It's just coincidence of event. In Donington, I think, from the racing side, for the racer side, it was not too bad. Again, it was only the crash in race 1 that really make us lose a lot of points. But again, of course, you're fighting for the win. It's not that you crash because you are a bit far back. And in Misano, I think our weekend was good up to free practice 3, and then unfortunately the qualifying has thrown us a little bit back, but only because with the qualifying tire, for some reason both riders didn't really find the advantage that everybody else has found. So that, of course, when you start from the third row, is a bit more difficult. Race 1 was really disappointing because, especially on Chaz's side, consider that he had 9 seconds on the first lap after that he was kicked out on the first corner. He arrived up to 11.5, getting through all the let's say riders that was on the last position, and then he finished the race with 5 seconds. So it means that he gained 6 seconds out of the leader through the end of the race. So that could be a race completely different for us. But as you said, sadly it wasn't like that. Race 2, another crash, of course, has thrown him out the race. So definitely was a 2 negative weekend. But there's been all the positive, and then this is what we need to concentrate on.
Imola, for example, the other Italian-based weekend, was a fantastic weekend, as we said before, and one of the riders helping with that was Davide. Let's talk about him now. Seriously injured last year twice, first in the Phillip Island test, then at Laguna Seca, broken back both times. Back in action this year, and it was very impressive, I thought, the pre-season test at Phillip Island and the weekend. Davide had not a single crash, no off-track moment there. Started very strongly on the podium. We've seen a different Davide this year, haven't we? I think he's settling for second best instead of pushing too hard and crashing, and we've seen that all season really so far.
Well, for sure, the 2 crashes that he had last year has really penalized him a lot. For a rider, when you have such a crash, a single one on on your career is already quite hard. Having 2 on the same season is definitely something that can leave a sign. But Davide is a warrior, and already when he came back after Phillip Island last year, after the crash in Phillip Island in Imola, he set the pole position and finished on the podium. So his reach of talent. This year we tried together with the team and him to build up the weekend a bit more conservative, let's put it that way, a bit less directed into the lap time, but more concentrate on the distance and on the pace and on and so far he's been working. I think he's been constantly on the podium or fighting for it. He's missing the win still, but I think it's something that should come soon.
Well, indeed, he was second to Nicky Hayden at Sepang race 2, very close second to Tom Sykes at Donington race 1. How much of a change do you think we're going to see in Davide when that win does come? Because it's been a long time coming now. He's had over 100 starts with no win. Do you think we're going to see a big change in Davide Giugliano once he's got that win under his belt?
I think Sepang and Donington I think was a consequences of the year before. I think if we didn't have the shadow of the crash of the year before, or the points and position and podium that he has to achieve, I'm pretty sure that he was a push harder, and maybe he would have got in his pocket already 1 win this year. But all that said is it's never easy, and of course you don't know what could have been happened. In Sepang it was a very difficult condition because it was hot and it was wet, and the grip was so it was very easy to do a mistake. He tried to push on the end and then a couple of times he lost the rear, and so that is where he said, okay, let's try to get this second on the pocket. That is better than nothing. And more or less the same thing happened in Donington. I think he was pushing. He got a couple of moments with the front, trying to, to stay there fight until the end with Tom. So then he was going very, very close to the limit, and again, he was a safe second. But I think every race is he knows that he can do a bit more, and so hopefully we're gonna see him soon on the top of the podium.
I mean, if we just talk about the bike itself, the Panigale R, it's been in the class now since 2013, took its first victory, of course, last year, and it's won many races since then. Many people are saying it's the best bike on the grid at the moment as a full package. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think that for sure our bike now is very balanced. He proves to be competitive on any racetrack and on any condition. Of course, it's a very tight championship. I mean, Kawasaki is also a very good bike, and they have, a very good rider, as we have. So it's a difficult game. There is few races where we've been definitely unbeatable. There was a few races where, on the other side, they've been, really strong. But definitely we have a package that allow us to fight, for the win every weekend, and win is the only reason that we have for racing.